जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजन
What happened?
यशोदानंदन व्रज जन
Okay.
Zoom on ನೋಡಿದ್ಯಾ
Sorry.
ಅಜ್ಜಿ ಅದಾರ ಗುಡ್ ನೈಟ್ ನಾ ಇದು ಡ್ರಿಂಕ್
यमुना
ಕಾಣ್ತೀನಿ
तीरावन
ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ
चारी
Yeah, Gary.
यमुना तीरावन चारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावन चारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम राम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम जय राधा मदन मोहन राधे जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय गीता संदेश प्रोग्राम की
ನೋಡ್ರಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ್ರಿ ಓಡ್ರಿ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಕಳಿಸ್ರಿ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ನೀವೇನ್ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಅರ್ಜಿ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ
हरे कृष्णा So welcome all of you for the, I think this is the 6th day of the Gita Sandesh program. So we are in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So before we begin the session, let us start with our Mangalacharan. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine नामश्रेष्ठम् अनुमपि सचीपुत्रम् अत्र स्वरूपम् रूपं तस्याग्रजम् उरुपुरीं मातुरीं गोष्ठवाटीं राधाकुण्डं गिरिवरमहो राधिका माधवाशां प्राप्तो यस्य पतितकृपया श्रीगुरुं तं नतोऽस्मि कृष्णादन्यमजानत क्षणमपि स्वप्नेऽपि विश्वेश्वरे तस्मिन् भक्तिमहैतुकीं विदधतो हृत्काय वाग्वी सदा श्रीलान् सद्गुणपुञ्जकेलिनिलयान् प्रेमावतारानहं वन्दे भागवतानि माननुलवं मूर्ध्ना निपत्यक्षितौ आजानुलम्बितभुजौ कनकावदातौ संकीर्तनैकपितरौ कमलायताक्षौ विश्वम्भरौ द्विजवरौ युगधर्मपालौ वन्दे जगत्प्रियकरौ करुणावतारौ जयतां सुरतौ पङ्गोर्मम मन्दमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्य पदाम्बोजौ राधामदनमोहनौ नीलाचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्र सुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। Hare Krishna. So we are in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. This 3rd chapter is called as Karma Yoga. Okay, and this is not just by Prabhupada calling it as Karma Yoga, but almost all the acharyas have called it as Karma Yoga. So what did we see in the 2nd chapter? We saw that Krishna, from various points of view, he was trying to convince Arjuna and engage him, and so encourage him so that he can fight the war, right? So we saw that Krishna was talking about the science of the soul, then he talked about Swadharma, then he talked about Buddhi Yoga, and then he finally told him that how he has to do his duty. He should not run away from his duty, but he should not be attached to the results of the activities. So in that way, you should become a Sthita Prajna. And then he told Arjuna that how a Sthita Prajna actually behaves. What are the characteristics of a Sthita Prajna? How does he behave in trying situations? How does he speak? How does he act in this world? How does he take decisions in this world? Right? Then now what happens is, though almost Krishna has covered everything that is required for Arjuna to understand, still Arjuna was confused whether he should fight or not. So why it has happened like that? Let us see. So this is the mind map of the 3rd chapter. Let us go to the verses. So the first 1 to 8 verses can be summarized as don't be a pretender, do your duty. That's what Krishna is saying. Arjuna uvacha jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana tat kim karmani ghore mam niyojasi keshava. Arjuna said, if it is your opinion that intelligence is superior to action, O Janardana, then why do you engage me in this terrible action, O Keshava? So, though Krishna actually was talking about Buddhi Yoga, And finally he says that by doing that Nishkama Karma Yoga, it culminates into Jnana Yoga. That means you will actually come to the state of self-realization. You realize what is the soul. Okay, so Arjuna, what he misunderstood was that this Buddhi Yoga which Krishna was talking is something like that of retirement from active life and becoming like becoming like a mendicant, staying in a secluded place, practicing austerity and penances. That is how he thought. Yesterday also we were discussing this, that actually that is not what Krishna was trying to say. Even if you're having, Krishna gave many examples. He says, even if you're among a lot of wealth, still you'll not be touched by that sense gratification. If you actually become my devotee, that's what he said in the previous verses of the second chapter. But Arjuna did not catch that point. Arjuna mistook that Krishna was asking him to become detached and become like a mendicant or something, right? So therefore he's questioning that if you are saying that intelligence, ultimately we have to realize and gain the intelligence, fix the intelligence in the soul, Atma, Paramatma, become so then if that is superior to action, then why should I act now? Why should I do all these actions? What is the necessity? That's what he's asking. So Arjuna is confused whether to fight or not, because intelligence is superior. He was saying that. Because Krishna was so many times, he was saying Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, Ekeha Kurunandana, so much focusing on intelligence, hearing, and trying to realize the soul, be on the Atma platform. So Arjuna was confused. So he was saying that if that is your opinion, then why should I act? Vyamishreneva Vakyena Buddhim Mohasiva me Tadekam Vada Nischitya Yena Shreyoham Apnuyam. You seem to bewilder me with your mixture of words. Now speak clearly so that I may attain the highest benefit. Now he's saying that speak clearly. Don't do all this jugglery kind of thing. A mixture of words. You are playing with the words. No. Speak in a straightforward manner. That's what Arjuna is saying. In reply to Arjuna's doubt, Krishna says, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Lokesmin Vividha Nishta Pura Prokta Mayanagha Jnana Yogena Sankhyanam Karma Yogena Yoginam. The Lord said, I have spoken in the last chapter of two types of qualification for people of this world. Those qualified for Jnana are known as practitioners of Jnana Yoga, and those qualified for Nishkama Karma are known as practitioners of Karma Yoga. So, though Krishna had spoken many things in the second chapter, so Krishna is actually clarifying here that there are people having different kinds of qualification. Not all people are on the same level spiritually. Some may be very much attached, materially. Some may be very much detached materially. So both are in different levels. So for different kinds of people, there are different kinds of processes, different types of processes. We can't give, just like doctor, he doesn't give the same medicine for all the diseases. Does he do like that? No, he doesn't do like that. Depending on the health of the person, depending on the disease of the person, the doctor prescribes the medicine. Similarly, Krishna also, though if you see the whole Bhagavad Gita now upcoming, we see that there is Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and most of these things. Ultimately, it culminates into Bhakti Yoga. And Krishna tells at the end that how Bhakti Yoga is the best. So then someone might get a question that, if Bhakti Yoga is the best and that is to be culminated, why did Krishna speak all these things in between? All these things Krishna spoke in between, because not every person is on this. Not every person has the same qualification. They have different qualifications. They have different attachments to material nature. There are different platforms. So for different platforms of people, different levels of study, different levels of sadhana practice is given. But ultimately, one has to become advanced and become a devotee of the Lord. Okay, we will see that how it happens. So you cannot perform Jnana Yoga without performing Karma Yoga. Na karmanam anarambhan naishkarmyam purushoshnute nacha sannyas eva siddhim samadhigacchati. Without performance of prescribed karmas, a person cannot attain non-action of the senses. By renunciation of activities, he cannot attain liberation either. So Krishna is saying that, so without performing one's duty, Krishna is saying that first one has to be dutiful. Prescribed karmas one has to do. Without doing that, a person cannot attain jnana, which is actually non-action of the senses, right? He won't be able to do that because the senses are very powerful, and the senses, it is not possible for them to control without engaging them, right? So Krishna is saying that first one has to do one's duties, then by being dutiful, one actually slowly gives up the impurity in the heart. So what is the impurity in the heart? Desire for selfish sense gratification. So that actually gets purified by being dutiful. Because when a person becomes dutiful, he doesn't think about what will satisfy me, whether it will make me happy or not. He will rise above that platform. Okay. Whereas that you don't see that in animals, right? Animals, they are very much on selfish platform. They can't understand what is responsibility, what is duty, correct? They just, wherever the senses drag them, they just go in that direction, right? So a human being also, when he becomes dutiful, he actually rises above the animal platform and becomes a human being. So that is required. Then a person can get, go to Jnana stage. And Krishna is saying by renunciation of activities, he cannot attain liberation either. Just by renouncing the activities, just by not doing anything, just sitting idle, he cannot attain liberation. Because realization doesn't come just by sitting alone and stopping all your duties. No. So according to the empirical philosophers, simply by adopting sannyas or retiring from fruitive activities, one at once becomes as good as Narayana, according to some philosophers. But Lord Krishna doesn't approve that principle here. He doesn't approve that. Some people will say, if you want to become advanced, just leave everything, leave away all your duties, and just take to renounced order or sannyas, and then you will become as good as God. That is wrong, actually. So here you can see, unattached to fruits of action. Renunciation of action means, what is renunciation of action? Unattached to the fruits of action, but it is not giving up of action. So this is something all of you can focus on. So whenever, what is the meaning of renunciation? Actual meaning of renunciation is not to give up action, but to give up the attachment to the fruits of action. Because giving up action is not possible, because the Atma itself, action is very innate for it's an internal nature of the Atma. Without being active, the Atma cannot exist. That is not possible. So that is the nature of the soul, because we want happiness, and happiness comes by action, by engaging, by being active, but not by being inactive, right? But what does renunciation mean then? Unattached to the fruits of action, not giving up the action, because that is impossible. You can try it, it is impossible. That's why many yogis who are there, who give up everything of this world, but they still do some welfare activities, because they cannot be inactive, right? We see that so many Babajis or Swamis who are there, though they must have worn saffron clothes and they must have started, but they can't be alone. They start some missionary activities. They open some organizations, or they open educational institutions. Yeah, they do some action. They cannot be inactive, right? nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtati akarma krit karyate hi avashak karma sarva prakriti jair gunai. No one can remain without doing activity even for a moment. So that's what Krishna is saying, and we must understand this. All are forced to engage in action by the gunas arising from Prakriti. So as long as you have a material body, the body is under the control of the gunas. Gunas are Rajaguna, Tamoguna, Sattvaguna, material modes of nature. So you can see over here how the person is being controlled by the modes of nature. So in that way, a person is always, he cannot stay without doing some action. He will do some action. Therefore, ignorant renouncer of action is warned in this text, in the next verse. So just don't try to give up action. Karmendriyani samyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyardhan vimudhatma mityachara sa uchyate. So here actually, normally a renouncer is called as a brahmachari, right? And opposite of that is a mityachari. A mityachari is one who is a pretender. So Krishna is calling him a pretender. Who is that pretender? He who, controlling the active senses, remains remembering those objects of the senses in his mind, is bewildered and is called a pretender. That means externally he is posing that he is renounced, but internally he has all the desires to enjoy selfishly. All sinful desires are still there in the heart. So that person is called as a pretender. Okay. Yeah. So his knowledge has no value because the effects of such a sinful man's knowledge are taken away by the illusory energy of the Lord. So they might be like a Babaji, they might be like a renounced person, but internally they have all sinful desires. Yeah. So that is not the kind of renunciation which Krishna is advising. So a karma yogi, that means a person who might be like a grihastha, he like a married man, and he might be having a family, but if he is self-controlled, if his sense control is greater than or is better than a person who is he is externally renounced but internally preserving all material desires, all sinful desires, also called as a premature renouncer. It's not a mature renouncer. And for the person who is sense controlled, karma yogi, who is doing all activities in this world, but he's still self-controlled. For him, he can become a true renouncer later. But one who is prematurely renouncing without controlling his desires is inferior. Yastva indriyani manasa niyam yaravate Arjuna. Karmendriyai karma yogam asakta vishishyate. He who, free from attachment, controlling the senses by the mind, performs karma yoga with his active senses, is superior to a person acting prematurely from the position of jnana. Did you mute on? He who, free from attachment, controlling the senses by the mind, performs karma yoga with his active senses superior to a person acting prematurely from the position of jnana. That's what I was saying in the previous slide. So, yeah, this is also said. A sincere sweeper in the street, he might be in such a low position as a sweeper, is far better than a charlatan meditator. Charlatan meditator is pretending meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living. So he's acting like a sadhu or someone so that he can make a living. He can fool people. He can get some money without doing any hard work. So he's a very inferior person. So therefore, what Krishna is saying, Niyatam kuru karmatvam karma jyayo hi akarmanah sharira yatrapi chate na prasiddhet akarmanah. Perform your daily scriptural duties without attachment. This is better than not acting. You cannot even maintain your body by non-action. So not acting. So many people, so-called renounced people, or most of them are like impersonal meditators. So they actually try to give up all kinds of actions. They say that that is the ultimate philosophy. But even they have to eat, that is also an action. Can anyone stay without eating anything? Yes. So you cannot even maintain your body by non-action. You must do some action to maintain your body, right? So action one cannot give up. So the Sankhyas, so these are the renouncers, renounced so-called people. As all action leads to bondage, it shouldn't be performed. So refuting this, Krishna is saying here, and in the next verse also, that what they say is that all actions leads to bondage. Any action you do in this material world, everything will lead to bondage. So don't perform any action. But they eat, they sleep, they bathe, they breathe. These are also actions, right? Yeah, and moreover, most of the renounced people, they do all kinds of welfare activities, philanthropic activities. Yeah. So then that is also called an action. That doesn't that action lead to bondage? So their philosophy is wrong. So refuting them, Krishna is saying in the next verse. So the first 1 to 8 verses, Krishna has concluded, don't be a pretender, falsely giving up everything and running into the forest, giving up your duties. Don't be like that. Do your duty. Now 9 to 16 process, Krishna is telling about process of Karma Yoga. So why this Karma Yoga Krishna is explaining very elaborately is because most of the people, it is best for them if they do Karma Yoga, because Karma Yoga makes the people very responsible, do their prescribed duties, right? Then by doing their prescribed duties according to the system given by God, like Varna Ashrama, right? The person gets purified. His senses will get purified, right? Then with that purified senses, he will be able to meditate on the Lord. Then he can actually attain the self-realization, right? So we'll see here. यज्ञार्थात् कर्मणोऽन्यत्र लोकोऽयं कर्म बन्धनः तदर्थं कर्म कौन्तेय मुक्त संघ समाचर. Without performing actions for Vishnu, the people of the world are bound by their actions. O son of Kunti, perform actions for him. Him means actually Krishna himself. Krishna is saying like that. Freed from attachment to results. So yagnardhat karmano anyatta lokoyam karma bandhanaha. So you have to perform yagna. Vishnu is also called as yagna. Yagna refers to Vishnu. So you have to do your duties as a yagna, as an offering to the Lord, in connection with the Lord. Okay. So otherwise what happens is the people of the whatever actions we perform, they actually cause bondage to us. So he's saying, oh son of Kunti, perform actions for him. Him means Krishna or Vishnu or God. So then a person will become freed from attachment to results. O son of Kunti, perform actions for him, freed from attachment to results. So it is said in the Taittiriya Samhita also, Yagno vai Vishnu. Yagna is Vishnu, right? So even according to Prajapati, Brahma or Vishnu, one who performs action is better. This is stated in next 4 verses. Yeah, Prajapati, Brahma is Prajapati because he has populated this whole world. So even according to him, one who performs action is better. This is stated in the next 4 verses. Sahayagna praja srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasa visyadhvam esavostu ishtakamaduk. Vishnu, having created the population along with sacrifice in the beginning, spoke. What did he speak? May you increase yourself by this sacrifice. may it fulfill your desire for liberation by supplying bodily maintenance and knowledge of Atma. Okay, by performing yajna, what happens is one will be able to fulfill one's desire for liberation. He'll be able to supply and maintain all bodily necessities, and he'll be able to get the knowledge of Atma. So basically, it doesn't mean yajna. Normally, we typically think that it is, putting a fire and putting some ghee in that and everything. That is a very narrow understanding of yajna. What is the meaning of yajna? Yajna is any action which is performed to satisfy Vishnu, because or the Lord, the Supreme Lord, that is called as yajna. Okay, so it is said that in the Treta Yuga, Kriteya Dhyayato Vishnu, Tretayam Yajato Makhe, Dwapare Paricharyayam, Kalota Dhari Kirtanat. Rama Sankir Yajna, Sankirtan Yajna is actually prescribed for the Kali Yuga. Okay, so when we are doing this chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, chanting of the holy names of the Lord, when we are congregationally chanting the holy names of the Lord, this is called as Sankirtan Yajna, and this kind of yajna is actually prescribed for Kali Yuga. Because in Kali Yuga, it is very difficult to perform the typical yajnas, because there are no pure brahmanas, there are no pure substances, and there are no people who can chant the mantras very properly. But in Kali Yuga, it is very easy to chant the holy names of the Lord. So the Sankirtan Yajna is prescribed. So if one performs this yajna, then one will be able to satisfy the Lord. Then one will, when Krishna is satisfied, it is said, Yasman Tushtam Jagat Tushtam. So if Krishna is satisfied, then the whole world will be satisfied. Then everything will be very auspicious. So Vishnu said in the beginning of the creation that you increase yourself by this sacrifice. Patim Vishwasyatmeshwaram. He is the master of the universe, the Lord of the soul. How would the sacrifice yield the desired enjoyments? So this is a question which Arjuna is having in his mind. That, okay, if you're doing yajna, you're saying that is wonderful. Okay, we'll get knowledge of Atma, we will advance liberation, etc. Fine, but how will one satisfy, and how will one satisfy one's desired enjoyments? Yes. Devan bhavetanena te deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayantaha shreya param avapsyata. By that sacrifice, please the devatas. So devatas will be pleased. May the devatas please you. Okay. May mutually pleased, you will both attain the highest benefit and liberation. So this is something which Krishna is saying. So we must understand that there are universal managers, okay, who are called as devatas. So just like any organization, if it's wonderfully functioning or it is being organized nicely, so that means there must be some managers, okay, who are looking after different things. Suppose like we are staying in township here, okay, so here we don't have to worry about water or not automatically comes. We don't have to worry about cleaning. There are people who are taking care of that cleanliness. They keep everything spick and span, and then we don't have to worry about electricity. Someone is taking care of electricity. As soon as the power goes, it comes within 15-20 minutes or so, right? So someone is taking care of the management. The same way, universally, if we see, rains come on time, summer comes, then winter comes. This is a cycle, right? Because without rains, we don't get grains, right? And then there is need of everything, and the seasons are there. Then there is food, then there is sunlight. Then after sunlight, there is moonlight, and the moonlight is also required because the moonlight actually gives the taste to the vegetables and the fruits and everything, right? So then there's morning time, there is night time. Everything is wonderfully functioning like a clock, correct or not? So who is managing all these things? So there are devatas who are doing this. So by doing the yajna, what happens? The devatas become pleased. So when devatas become pleased, what happens? they will actually bless you. In return, they will give you material happiness. You can be happy in this world. They'll give you all opulences, right? So in that way, mutually, you help each other and you advance. That is what Krishna is saying. The result of not performing sacrifice is explained in the next verse. So what if you don't perform the sacrifice, yajna? What happens? Krishna is explaining. Ishtan bhogan hi wo deva dasyante yajna bhavita तैर्दत्तान apradhayebhyo yo bhungte stena evasa. The devatas, pleased with the sacrifice, will bestow on you desired enjoyment. So if you do the sacrifice, yajna, if you perform yajna in this world, then devatas will bestow you with desired enjoyment. He who enjoys what is given by the devatas without offering to them is indeed a thief. So if one doesn't perform yajna, but he is taking all the benefits from the devatas, then he is a thief. So we can give example like that of a person who is taking all benefits from the government. Yeah, suppose like you are going on the highway but you don't pay the toll tax. Suppose like you are earning lot of money but you're not paying taxes to the government. So then what happens? You are a thief, right? You're taking the benefits but you're not paying for that. So then you're a thief. So in the same way, universally also it's the same thing. So therefore, those who perform sacrifices are alone better and not others. This is being stated. So those who perform sacrifices, they are better and they make the world a better place. Yagnasishtashinas shanto muchyante sarva kilbishai bhunjate te tvagam papa yepachanti atma karanat. So those respectable people who eat the remnants of sacrifice are free from all sins. Those sinful people, the persons who cook for themselves, suffer from sin. So therefore it is advised, it is said in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is saying that the food which we are taking, one has to offer it to the Lord. One has to use it. The remnants of the yajna, the remnants of the worship should actually be consumed, right? Then a person will become free of all the sins. But those people who actually cook and eat for themselves, they enjoy the fruits of the nature, but they don't offer it to the Lord. They don't perform the yajna. They are only eating sin. Ye pachanti atma karanat bhunjate tvagam papam. They suffer in this world. Okay, because they're not acknowledging what is coming from God and what is given by the nature. So also because action keeps revolving this world cycle, it should be performed. This is stated in the next 3 verses. So annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhava yajnad bhavanti parjanyo yajna karma samudbhava. So everyone needs food, isn't it? So how to get the food? Living entities. Yeah, everyone, if all living entities need food, all different kinds of people, yes. But how does the food come? Annad bhavanti bhutani. Annad is required for all the living entities. Parjanyad anna sambhava. From the rains come the food grains. Right? Yajnad bhavanti parjanya. But how does the parjanya, the rain come? It comes through the yajna. Yajnad bhavati parjanyo. Yajna karma samudbhavat. How yajna is performed? Yajna is performed. Yajna, how does yajna originate? It comes from performing one's prescribed duties. Okay, sacrifice arises from one's prescribed actions. Therefore, this is a cycle. This is a cycle. Again, the food grains are required for the living entities. So it's a cycle. So action is involved in this cycle. So therefore, if you have to live, you have to be a part of this cycle. Therefore, you have to act. Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma niyatam yagne pratishthitam. Prescribed action arises from the Vedas. So someone might be asking, how does this prescribed duties come from? They actually come from Vedas. And where is Vedas coming from? Vedas are coming from God, Krishna. Yeah. Therefore, all pervading Lord is eternally situated in the sacrifice. So, if we actually follow the scriptures, the Shastras, and live our life according to the Shastra, then we actually understand what is our prescribed duty and will be dutiful in this world. And then we understand from the Vedas how to perform the yajna. Therefore, we perform the yajna, right? And then from that comes rain, from that food grains, and therefore that's how we can actually happily stay in this world. So all these things are coming from God Himself, from the Supreme Lord Himself, right? So what happens if someone doesn't follow prescribed Vedic system of sacrifice? Okay, so someone might be saying, I don't follow this Vedas, I don't believe this Vedas, I don't want to follow the scriptures, Shastras, everything. So then what happens? Evam pravartitam chakram nanu vartayati haya aghayur indriya ramo mogham pardasa jivati. He who does not follow the cycle initiated in this way by the Lord, but instead leading a sinful life, a life of sin, enjoying with the senses, lives in vain. He just lives in vain. So having prescribed the way of action for the ignorant, for attaining purity of the mind, the uselessness of action for the wise is being declared in the next two verses. So Krishna is prescribing the way of action for the ignorant. How to attain the purity? By following the Vedas. Okay. So now we have completed the second part also. That is the process of Karma Yoga. How Krishna is saying the process of Karma Yoga. Ignat bhavanti parjanya anna sambhavat. Correct? So one has to perform yajna. One has to perform one's prescribed duties. How do we know our prescribed duties? We have to follow the scriptures. And where from scriptures come from? Scriptures are coming from the Lord, the Supreme Lord. So this is a cycle. This is how a person has to live. Now, 17 to 35 verses, Krishna is saying that you have to set an example and fight. Okay. So why set an example? What is the connection? One second. Let me go back. Here. So at the bottom, the uselessness of action for the wise is being declared in the next two verses. So Krishna is saying that one has to set example in this world. So let's see what is this. Yastva atma ratir eva syad atma triptascha manavaha atmani eva cha santushtas tasya karyam na vidyate. The human who is attracted to the Atma, satisfied in the Atma, completely pleased with Atma alone, has nothing to do, that is karma, in regard to seeing the Atma. Okay. So Arjuna was, getting this doubt in his mind. So if a person who is completely self-realized, he's attracted to the Atma, he's like Sthita Prajna, he has realized the nature of the Atma, and he has understood the futility of action in this world. So for the ignorant people, Krishna has prescribed the prescribed duties, the karma yoga. That is very easy to perform. Just if they become dutiful, then they'll slowly advance. But there are already people who are advanced. They have already realized the soul. Okay, they're satisfied with the self atma jnana. Then even for them, Krishna is prescribing that they have to do their duty, even if you are self-realized. For them, Krishna is prescribing that they have to do their duties. So why there is requirement for duty even for the person who is self-realized? Why he has to also act? Why? Because he has to set an example. That is what Krishna will say now. Naiva tasya kritenardho na kriteneha kasyana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kasyat ardha vipashrayah. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. Okay, so this is for now we are talking about self-realized man. Yeah. So for him, why he has to perform any prescribed duties? Because if you do prescribed duties, what will happen? You get some material benefits. You can stay happily in this world, but their consciousness is not over here. They're self-realized. They don't have any purpose to get fulfilled. They're completely satisfied with the self, with the Atma, with serving the Lord, with their self-realization, with their advancement in spiritual life. Okay, they have no reason to perform any work because they have complete faith that Krishna, the God is only the Lord is maintaining them. So they don't need to work. Okay, they don't have to depend on any other living entity because their faith is on the Supreme Lord. They know that Lord is maintaining them, but we can't have that faith, isn't it? So then only for such inaction, only for such person, inaction is prescribed. So perform karma yoga. So Krishna is saying that only for such a kind of person, he can be inactive. He doesn't have to do any activities in this world. So we are not that much advanced. So therefore, we perform karma yoga. Further, what Krishna says, Tasmad asakta satatam karyam karma samachara asakto hi acharan karma param apnoti purushaha. Therefore, always perform prescribed actions as a duty, performing them without attachment to results. Performing action without attachment, a person sees the Atma as it is. So this is a kind of repetitive from the second chapter. We had seen the same kind of verse in the second chapter. Because Arjuna is a leader, Krishna wants him to perform karma yoga even if he thinks himself eligible for jnana yoga. Why? Because he is a leader. So leader has to set an example. So therefore, he is advised, Arjuna is advised by Krishna to perform karma yoga so that many other people can follow in his footsteps. Because jnana yoga is very, very high. To become very, very self-realized and to be completely inactive is only possible for few people. Not everyone is qualified to do that. So therefore, Krishna is advising that Arjuna should perform karma yoga even if he thinks that he is advanced and he can perform jnana yoga, but to set an example because he is a leader. So who all achieved perfection by doing karma yoga? Krishna is saying, karma naiva hi samsiddhim astita janakadayah loka sangraham hevapi sampashyan kartumarhasi. By prescribed actions as well as hearing, Janaka and others attained realization of Atma. And just with the consideration of setting example for others, you should perform work. So Maharaj Janaka. So that Maharaj Janaka is actually considered as one of the Mahajan. Yes. So Swayambhu, this is there in the Bhagavatam, where it says Swayambhu Narada Shambhu Kumara Kapilo Manu Prahladu Janaka Bhishma. So these are 12 great personalities who are called as Mahajans. That means who are the authorities of the Bhagavata philosophy or the Sanatana Dharma, right? Authorities. Like in that Janaka Maharaj is there. But Janaka Maharaj is a king. So he performed, karma yoga. He performed his prescribed duties, right? But at the same time, he was also doing his spiritual duty. What is that? He was hearing the Shastra. He was hearing from saintly people. So he attained realization of the Atma. Yeah. So he perfected his life by performing karma yoga and simultaneously realizing the atma through hearing or the shrutis, right? Shravanam. By doing the shravanam, he actually got advanced, right? So how the performance of action by the man of knowledge will act as an incentive to people. So how will it set an example by performance of action? Even though a person has great knowledge, cause yadyad acharati shreshtas tattad evetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokas tad anuvartate. So whatever actions the superior performs, the other persons will also perform. Whatever the scripture and superior man follows will be followed by other. So this is a common principle we can see anywhere, right? Yeah. So if the leader is right, then the followers also will have an example to follow. But if the leader is himself loose, then the followers will also be loose. It is said yatha raja tata praja. So this can be seen in many places, you know. Suppose like a father is there. Suppose a father is drinking alcohol, then the son will naturally he will also follow in his footsteps, so he also will become a drunkard, right? But the father is setting a very good example, right? He's a very good person, he's a noble person, for example, right? So then the son will also follow in the footsteps of the father, and the father can tell him, no beta, this is not right, don't get into bad habits, be like this. Now because the father is an example, then the son will also follow that example. He might, but still if he takes bad association, he can get spoiled, but at least he has an example, right? So yadyad acharati shreshtas taddad evetaro jana. So whatever superior people perform, the inferior people will naturally follow, right? So therefore Krishna himself also sets an example when he comes to this world. नमे पार्थास्ति कर्तव्यं त्रिषु लोकेषु किंचन नाना नानवाप्तम अवाप्तव्यम वर्त एव च कर्मणि. For me, O son of Pritha, there is nothing in the three worlds that has to be done. What results are to be obtained are already not attained by me. Okay, but I also perform duties. So actually, even Krishna, when he comes to this world, actually he doesn't have to do any duties. So previously we saw in the verse where the three modes of mental nature are pushing the people to act, right? They're impelling the people to act in a certain way. But Arjuna is not, Krishna is not, he's above the modes of the nature. Okay, when he comes to this world, many people will say that when Krishna comes to this world, he also behaves like an ordinary man. So they think that he is also an ordinary man, but he is not an ordinary man. Okay, he acts like an ordinary man, just to show an example for us, right? Yeah. So when Krishna actually was ruling in Dwaraka and Mathura, as a king, so then he used to do all his prescribed duties. He used to get up in the morning, he used to go to the assembly, he used to listen to the minister, and he used to give decisions. He used to see that dharma is preserved, right? He used to set an example. Yeah, so he doesn't have any results to be obtained. But Krishna, because if Krishna doesn't do things properly, right, or Lord Ram, all these avatars which are there, if they don't behave properly, then the society, the common man, will never try to follow the footsteps of the Lord. They don't try to elevate themselves. They don't try to think that I have to behave properly. So therefore, even the Lord tries to set an example just for us. Otherwise, he doesn't have to. So the Lord is not an ordinary man. This must be understood, because though he is actually acting like an ordinary man, he has done many extraordinary activities, right? Yeah. So what happens if Krishna doesn't set an example? Yadi hi aham na varteyam jatu karmani atindritaha mama vartmanu vartante manushya parda sarvashaha. if I were not engaged in work attentively at any time, men would follow my example in all respects. So they will follow Krishna's example. They'll say, see, Lord himself is doing like this. So therefore, I will also do like that. Correct? So Lord tries to set an example. We see even in life of Lord Ram, that how he sets an example. It's called as Maryada Purushottam. He tries to set an example. Yeah, he tries to follow Pitru Vakya Paripalana, Ekapatni Vrata, and so many things like that. Right? So we see example set by the Lord. So men would follow his example in all respects. Then what will happen? Utsideyur ime loka na kuryam karma chedaham sankarasya cha kartasyam upahanyam ima praja. If I were not to work, all people would become unlawful. I would be the cause of mixed castes and would pollute the descendants. Okay, Varna Shankara will happen. So if Krishna did not set an example, what will happen is all people will become unlawful. So that's what you can see all these pictures. What Krishna did. Krishna, when he was there on this planet, he also performed yajnas. He respected the Brahmanas. Okay, though his friend Sudama is there, he is a very poor Brahmana, but still because he's a Brahmana and Kshatriyas are supposed to respect the Brahmanas, he even washed the feet of the Brahmanas, right? Similarly, Krishna also engaged in the war as a Kshatriya. He did his responsibilities. He protected his kingdom. Yeah, whenever people attacked on Dwaraka, the demons, different kinds of people who were envious of the Lord, they attacked Dwaraka. So that time, Krishna actually engaged in the war and he protected his kingdom, right? So Krishna actually behaved and he set an example. Yeah. But many people, they don't accept that. They have doubts with Krishna and they accept Rama as an example. Yes, Ram is correct. Even when Gandhi was asked, he said that even though I read Bhagavad Gita, I actually am a follower of Ram. I'm not follower of Krishna, he says. Because to understand Krishna, it takes a toll. It is not so easy to understand the Lord. Yes. But even then, many of the Leelas of the Lord, Krishna has actually set a very wonderful example. Okay. So Krishna concludes, even if you have realized, realize the self, still perform Karma Yoga for welfare of the world. So Krishna is saying that even I performed Karma Yoga, I performed all my prescribed duties. Krishna is above self-realization. We individual souls, we need self-realization. But Krishna doesn't need self-realization. He is the Lord. We have to realize him. Okay, but he himself, when he comes here, he sets example and he performs Karma Yoga for the welfare of the world. Okay, so I think we can stop over here. If there are any questions, we can take it up. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please, sir.
Prabhuji, this 12th shloka is there, no? Karma Yoga, 12th shloka. Ishtan bhogani vo deva dashyante yagya bhavita tadartan pradabhya cha yo isten evaso.
Yeah.
And below this, I was going to the purport given by Sri Prabhupada.
Okay.
It is written that who are Sato Gunis, they should worship Lord Krishna. And who eat non-vegetarian and like that, they should worship Kali.
Yeah.
What is that? Can you throw some light on that?
So people are in different levels of consciousness. Some people are therefore these are all actually according to the Karma Kanda section. So because Vedas are there, in the Vedas there are even Tamoguna Tamoguna sections which are there. So people who are in Tamoguna, like, they are addicted to alcohol, they're addicted to illicit sex, they are into meat eating and all these things, okay, sinful activities. So Vedas want that, Vedas wanted that even they also have to become advanced at their level. They might be at a very, very lower position, self-realization, but they also have to get some methods and means by which they can advance. So even for them, they have prescribed certain worships, okay, so that at least they worship someone rather than becoming atheistic, right? So if people become atheistic, then it takes a lot of time for them to advance spiritually. But if people at least believe in some god, some devata, then at least one day they will realize that, okay, this god is not the supreme, there is another supreme lord. So in that way, to keep people religious, okay, so that kind of things are also given in the Vedas. So those are in the mode of ignorance, they're advised to worship Durga. Those are in the mode of passion, they're advised to perform worship to other devatas. But those are in the mode of goodness, they're advised to worship Vishnu. But eventually, it is expected that we rise from Tamoguna, because Tamoguna is not the best. Tamoguna to Rajoguna to Sattva-guna. And even after Sattva-guna, there is Shuddha Sattva, which is transcendental mode of goodness, okay, which is spiritual, absolutely spiritual. Okay, we have to go to that level. Yeah, so that is there. I hope it answered your question. Hare Krishna. Any other questions?
Thank you, Guruji. It was very wonderful. Today it was all understood, so simple. The third chapter is even much more easier after listening to the second chapter. It is like a continuation.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it doesn't need much more understanding. It's like a very simple explanation and very well understood by the Bhagavad Gita as it is really wonderfully captured.
Yes. Any you have any comments and any questions?
No questions. It's like so clear, point clear. It is like we should maintain no lust. We should just keep ourselves completely dedicated to our duties. We should be self-reliant. So simple and sattvic human nature.
Yeah.
That's very, very, very well understood. Very happy.
Thank you. Yeah. There's someone is asking a question.
Prabhuji, I have.
You can speak, Prabhu. Yeah.
I put in the chat.
I am not able to see that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, chapter 3.2, sloka 3. Chapter.
What is the qualification of Bhakti Yoga?
Correct.
Okay. Actually, all other processes, they need great qualifications. Suppose if you have to perform Karma Yoga, one has to do all his prescribed duties very meticulously, very wonderfully, very sincerely, right? And suppose like you want to perform Jnana Yoga, then one must have sense control, one must have knowledge of the scriptures and like that. And then if one has to perform Ashtanga Yoga, then a person should have same great control of senses and control of his life air and control over his body, so many things like that, and tendency to perform great austerities. That is all there. For Bhakti Yoga, it actually doesn't need, practically we can say it doesn't need any qualification. Okay. So what it needs, it just needs a little faith. That's it. So if a person can have a little faith in the process of bhakti, then he can perform bhakti yoga. He must have the faith that, and actually it is said, Krishna speaks in 9th chapter and all, Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, Pavitram idam uttamam, Pratyakshaavagamam dharmam, Susukam kartum avyam. It is actually very easy to perform. Bhakti yoga is very easy to perform. It is very simple to perform, and it doesn't require much qualification. All it just needs is a little faith. Okay, yeah, Ado Shraddha. Then that faith actually grows in the association of devotees, right? By the association of devotees, one gets faith actually. Yeah, and then with that faith, when one takes association of the devotees, just like all of you are doing, trying to, because what do devotees do? They speak about Krishna and they give the knowledge of the Lord. Okay, devotees only can speak about Krishna. All other people cannot speak about Krishna because they have not realized the Lord. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he says, Bhaktyamam abhijanati. Only a devotee or by devotion one can understand me. So to understand the Lord, one needs devotees. So in the association of devotees, one will naturally try to understand the Lord. So the process is very fast to understand the Lord. Whereas, those people who are jnanis or, they're simple meditators, Ashtanga yogis, etc. After prolonged, periods of meditation and practice and austerities, they only can have, realization of only the impersonal effulgence of the Lord, only the effulgence of the Lord. They are very, very far away from understanding the personality of the Lord, the qualities of the Lord, the nature of the Lord. Is very difficult for them. But whereas for devotees, it's very easy, right? All it just needs is a little faith. So that is Bhakti Yoga, which Krishna will speak in the future and in future verses. Can you elaborate 3 gunas? Okay, so the 3 gunas in Sanskrit, they are called as Sattva Guna, Raja Guna, Tamo Guna. Okay, in English, they are called mode of goodness, passion, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. So the mode of goodness, the nature, it is said Sukham and Jnanam. So that means a person in the mode of goodness is always peaceful, is always happy, is always pleasant to look at. And Jnanam, he has great knowledge. Okay, that is Sattva Guna. Then Rajoguna. Rajoguna is Sangha and Trishna. Sangha means he has great attraction to opposite sex. Okay, that is mode of passion. Has great attraction, fascination for opposite sex. Then he or she. Okay, then Sangha and Trishna, and he has great hankering for material desires. Yeah, he wants power, he wants wealth, he wants fame, he wants like that. And then we come to Tamoguna. Tamoguna, the qualities Nidra, Alasya, Pramada. So Nidra means always they want to sleep. Okay, Nidra, Alasya. Alasya means they always postpone things. They procrastinate. So whatever is supposed to be done now, they don't do it now. They just postpone. Maybe we'll see after. They're very irresponsible people. Okay, Sangha, Nidra, Alasya, Pramad. Pramad means mad. They act very madly. They don't think, what will happen to others. What are the consequences of my actions? They don't think like that. They just are very wild. They're very fearful. They act out of madness. Okay. So these are the characteristics. And actually in the further, like in 13, 14, and even in the 18 chapters, there is a lot of examples given in of 3 modes of nature, foods in the 3 modes of nature, austerities in the 3 modes of nature, speech, 3 modes of nature, actions in the 3 modes of nature. So many things are there. Charity in the 3 modes of nature. Everything can be divided into the 3 modes of nature. The foods which we eat, there is Sattva-guna foods, Tamoguna foods, Rajoguna foods. Yeah. The dresses which we wear, there are Sattva-guna dresses, Tamoguna dresses, the work which we do, the Sattva-guna work, there is Rajoguna work, there is Tamoguna work. So everything can be divided into the 3 modes. So that is there. We will discuss this in the future. We will discuss it very elaborately. Any other questions?
Guruji, I just remembered yesterday I asked you about 2 dharmas. One
Yeah,
Guru Dharma and second is?
No, actually, there are many dharmas.
But for the second chapter, which was really prominently 2 dharmas.
In the second chapter, Krishna speaks about Swadharma and Paradharma.
Yeah.
Okay, Swadharma is our own dharma, our own prescribed duties. Paradharma is prescribed duties of others. Okay.
One is for Guruji, na?
One is for our own self. You know, what are prescribed for us? What are we supposed to do? That is called as Swadharma.
Swadharma.
Shreyan Swadharmo Triguna. That's what the sloka is. So then there's Paradharma. So Krishna is saying that, you know, you do your duty. Even if you are able to do other person's duty very nicely, but still you do your duty. That's what the verse he says. But after that, he doesn't describe about dharma. But actually, there is also Paradharma and Aparadharma. Paradharma, there are 2 meanings of para. Para is other person. Para is also transcendental. Okay, higher dharma, the highest dharma. You know, transcendental dharma. So that is Paradharma, which I was telling yesterday, the vertical duty, and then there is a horizontal duty, which is Aparadharma. So that is material activities and spiritual activities. So that is the division. And there are many actually. Dharma, it has many kinds of forms and everything, explanations according to the context. There is like Raj Dharma, Dharma for the kings. Kshatriya Dharma is there. Brahmana Dharma is there. How a Brahmana should act. Then a Grihastha Dharma, how a householder should be acting. You know, Sannyas Dharma. So, there are many kinds of dharmas. Okay, we can't say what is a dharma. Okay. Then yesterday we were saying about Sanatana Dharma. So Sanatana Dharma is the eternal dharma, which, you know, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad, they are all part of the Vedas are all part of the Sanatana Dharma. Actually, what existed previously is also in India, or not only India, all over the world, was actually Sanatana Dharma. The word which we call as Hindu is not there in the scriptures. The word Hindu is not there in the scriptures. In anywhere in the Vedas, we don't find the word Hindu. So it was actually when the Muslims or the, you know, they were invading India. So they called the people who are on the other side of the Sindhu river, they called them as Hindus. So in that way, we got the name as Hindustan or Hinduism and everything. But actually the whole world, you know, the Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, everywhere, they were following the Sanatana Dharma.
Even Buddhism follows Sanatana Dharma.
Yeah, huh?
Buddhism.
Yeah, everything originated from the Sanatana Dharma.
Yes, that Buddhism, Sanatana Dharma originated from the origin of Buddhism.
Sanatana Dharma was given by the Lord, the Vedas.
Yeah, God to Buddha, Lord Buddha.
No, not Lord Buddha. Buddha is different. That came very recently.
But he promoted the Sanatana Dharma very strongly.
No. Buddhism is very different. No, it has similarities. Every religion has some similarities with the Sanatana Dharma. Yeah, every religion has certain, because ultimately all religious principles, it's like, you know, it's like the Oxford Dictionary. The Oxford Dictionary is the Vedas. You know, they are Sanatana Dharma. They are the Oxford Dictionary. Then we have, you know, pocket-sized dictionaries. Then we have, you know, medium-sized dictionaries. You know, different things we have. But the encyclopedia, you know, the final everything can be actually seen in the Vedas. So therefore, sometimes people say, you know, are you Hindus? No, we are not actually Hindus. We are followers of Sanatana Dharma.
Sanatana Dharma.
Sanatana Dharma. Hinduism is actually a hodgepodge, you know, of so many things. Yeah, that is not correct actually, because many of the people, they don't actually have a basis, a scriptural basis. You know, it is just it has become like that. Not only that, almost many religions have become like that. In every religion, we can see there are sincere followers who follow their scriptures, and there are people who don't follow. They are sentimental followers, or they are, concocted followers. There are many people like that. But in essence, if you see, all the religions speak the same thing. They say there is God. We are part of God. We are son of God, or we're children of God. We have to go back to the kingdom of God. You see, Christianity, Muslim, Islam, Sanatan Dharma, they all speak the same thing. But if we don't follow the scriptures of the religion, then we create problems in this world.
Right.
Yeah. But everywhere, in every religion, there is chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So
Right.
even when Srila Prabhupada went to America, then people asked Srila Prabhupada that, have you come here to convert the people to Hinduism? And Prabhupada said, no, we are representing Sanatana Dharma. And he said that we have come to propagate love for God. Okay.
Right.
If you know how to love God, fine. If you don't know how to love God, come to us, we can teach you.
Right.
But you chant the names of God. That's what Prabhupada said. So we
Right.
have to try to speak the essence of the religion. And if we see that we don't see any difference in any religions, we don't hate anyone, because when Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he says, Aham Bija Pradapitaha. He says that I am the seed-giving father of all living entities. Krishna is not saying that I am the seed-giving father of only Indians, or he's not saying that I am seed-giving father of only, Hindus or something. He's not saying like that. Krishna is saying I am the seed-giving father of every living entity. So God is actually the source of every living entity. So if someone can accept this statement, then he will love everyone. He will love animals. He will love, men. He will love, women. He will love children. He will love plants. He will love trees. He will love everything. Yeah, because he sees that everyone has got connection with his master, with his Lord. Okay, so he'll be able to appreciate that. He doesn't hate anyone. So this is very deep science actually. It makes a person very, very advanced and very, very mature person. Sanatana Dharma. Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you very much, Guruji,
Thank you.
for
Thank
the
you.
brief explanation.
Thank you for your wonderful participation every day.
I feel good because I